Hi everyone, this is part 6 of how to play the modern Benoni. In this section we are dealing with the modern approaches by White. So if you're not um, following the series, feel free to check my playlist on how to play the modern Benoni, and you can start from any video you would like. But we first started from the classical approach by White, and now starting with video number 5, we went into the modern approach by White, and our first game was Anishuk Nakamura. And now here is our second game, which will be our game 6. This game is between Mikhail Krasenkov with the white pieces and Andrei Volokitin with the black pieces. This is from 2004. Game started out d4, knight f6, c4, c5, d5, e6, knight c3, c takes, d6, knight f3, g6, and h3. And again, here is our modern approach just to shut down this bishop's activity, and also prepare moves like bishop f4, and if attacked, the bishop has a home on h2 while still maintaining pressure on the d6 pawn. Furthermore, white plans to play e4 followed by bishop d3 supporting that pawn, and then castle and play moves like rook e1. Okay, keeping a nice solid positional grip on the position. Notice, absent the idea of the knight's tour variation, which would be knight to d2 and then knight c4. Okay, that would be found in the classical variations of the Benoni. But here in the modern, the approach is a little bit different, and the concentration is more on getting the pieces out quickly and playing for e4, e5. Here, a6 was played, and now if you try to prevent the move e4 right now by putting the queen on e7, then black would be in for a surprise here, as the e pawn is untouchable because of this move. Okay, so you can't prevent e4 with queen e7 at this point. All right, now now a6 is the preparation here, and if you looked at the last game, and I hope you did, notice how I spoke about the passive nature of black's position. It's just one of those things that against this modern approach by white, black does not have all the dynamism that he would like. Or if you look at the old games of Tao, there's not all the dynamism because white has found ways to kind of slow things down for black a little bit. Nevertheless, black still has chances. He just has to be more patient. And so in the Nakamura game, you saw, black just kind of, settling down, not really trying to do too much, and then he waited for his opportunities and sprung. Although the game ended in the draw, Nakamura had a really promising attack going on the king side. Now, in this game, you see blacks trying to switch move orders and basically look for ways to keep white from implementing his whole entire plan, of h3, e4, bishop d3, knight f3, and bishop f4. He might get some of those moves in, but black tries to at least slow it down or hinder it and not allow white to get all aspects in, and you're going to see that here. So a6 is played. Now, of course, a6 with the idea of playing b5. Okay, now we know a4 is one of the automatic responses here. All right, now a4 is still trying to reach the position of the main line. Now, of course, that a4 is not forced, but black gives white a choice to make now, because white can just play e4. However, if you play e4, then black can expand on the queen side for sure. Okay, so there's always those trade-offs. There's give and take in chess, and not many players like to allow black to just freely expand like that. But sometimes white players will allow this expansion. So you take the time to stop b5, but now you can throw in the move queen e7, and now you don't have to worry about the check. Okay, so now e4 is slowed down considerably. Bishop g5 was played by Volokitin. And now bishop g7, e3, castle. And now you see the move knight d2. Knight bd7. And now bishop d3. So you can see how white's plan has been somewhat, tampered with somewhat by black. Again, by just switching some move orders around. White is not just allowed to go right into his modern setup. Okay, the game continued. Knight e5. And you might say, well, why give up this clear tempo like that against the bishop? It's because white wants to control this diagonal. He doesn't want, to be on e2. So this is why he allows that. Bishop c2, h6, bishop h4. And now Volokitin plays b5. Now, at the time, this move was a novelty. Okay? And so now it almost looks more like a Benko gambit after this. Okay? And basically, the idea behind this is to exploit the fact that white has not castled yet. All right? The other idea is to exploit the fact that the D pawn is not really adequately defended yet. So let's look. So b5, a takes, of course, and now bishop b7. Again, here's that dynamism we're always talking about in the Benoni. All right. Sacrifice the pawn. Now b6. All right. Now, white can take here, but then the compensation is all over. Black definitely has compensation for the king not castling, being stuck in the center like that. So he plays b6. Another idea I want to share with you is if let's say he just takes here, bishop takes to keep the knight from unpinning, bishop takes, and then b6. Well, now you have one dark square bishop. Excuse me for that arrow. You have one dark square bishop on the board dominating the dark square diagonal. Then black will simply play rook fb8 and then move this bishop back here to c8. Another option, if white decides to go, let's go back. Instead of bishop takes f6, if white decides to push with f4, get real aggressive. Knight ed7, then e4. This looks very suspect. You see the king right here like this. So you already know there should be something around the corner. Right? So a takes, for instance, rook takes, and if knight takes b5 here, and you can hit with g5. F takes, and of course knight d5, exploiting the pin of this pawn. That's just a little sample. So you definitely have to be on point tactically, playing the Benoni. It's with any chess game, but certain games lead to more tactical positions than others, certain openings rather, and the Benoni is definitely one of them. You definitely have to be a strong tactician because your opportunities will come, but you have to see them when they come. If you miss them, then you can end up in a bad position. So bishop b7, b6, and we saw some reasons why white wants to keep things calm. So he just plays b6 a la Benko. Gambit g5, bishop g3. And here's the other point that we made, the weak protection on a d5 pawn. Knight takes, bishop takes. So now black has won his pawn back, and this one is a clear target. Castles, queen b7, f4. So now white is trying to stir the game up. If he tries to play slow, for instance like e4, then bishop e6, bishop b3, takes, and then rook fb8, just simply picking up the pawn. So this is why white tries to, mix up matters and complicate the game, because they'll just end up in, basically in the losing scenario. So he plays f4 here, g takes, and bishop takes f4. Vola Keaton played bishop g2. Rook f2. Bishop takes h3. Now it becomes very double-edged because although black has opened up the white king side, you can see that black can use these. White can also use the open files. Bishop takes, and d takes. Now this would be a mistake. Bishop takes e5 because of queen h5. And let's say after queen d7, protecting the bishop, then queen takes h6. Okay. And then of course after king h1, the other rook coming over to the g file, and you see how the tables have turned. So he takes with the pawn, and now queen h5, and queen d7 by Vola Keaton. Now just simply retreating bishop e6 might have been better. And Krasnikov says that rook f6, rook fd8, knight e4, queen takes b6, keeps the game double-edged. Now this, to me, this looks very scary for black. So Vola Keaton played queen d7 here. And Krasnikov played a natural looking move, rook a4. I mean, just, you want to get the rook over, use the open fourth rank and get the rook over to the open files. However, this move is also very strong. And it seems that, with these type of moves coming, that black is forced to go into like a worse ending. So queen g4, bishop g4. Now knight takes e5. And if he tries to play, say, like rook a d8, then knight f6, check. Bishop takes is forced. And now queen takes h6. Queen g4 check. and then just simply king h2, and there's no way to really deal with this these threats right here. And black would be lost. So knight c4 was better. However, rook a4 was played, and again, in these type of tactical situations, it's easy to make just one error. And that's what I like about this opening, is that for black is that there's chances for both sides. It's just not a one-way street where you're playing like a dry position and you're like slightly worse for a really long time. It's kind of like the pieces are just kind of thrown on the board, and both sides have their chances. Yes, white should have definitely played knight e4 here, but he didn't. He played rook a4 instead, and in the murkiness of the position, black was able to find a way to take advantage. So after rook a4, c4 was played. Rook takes c4, so he gets the rook to this square, and now he plays rook a c8, bishop f4, bishop a4, and now queen e6, where black returns the favor, making a mistake. Stronger was queen d3. Queen takes h3. Oops. Rook takes c4. Knight takes c4. Queen takes c4. Rook g2. And then the king just scoots over. Okay. Now, say after bishop c2, white definitely has compensation. Queen b4. And maybe e4 next, freeing up this bishop. It's probably the best for black, and it's probably probably end up being a draw, but you never know in these type of positions. It's very double-edged. Sounds stereotype, but it really is a double-edged position after that. Let's go back to the game. So after bishop a4, queen e6 was chosen by Volakitin, and now bishop b3. And notice too all of the pressure on this f7 pawn. Right, and then you got this discovery here. So king h8. And now let's look at the obvious. If rook takes c4, bishop takes c4. Say bishop g4, and then rook takes f7. Wins. And that's why I want to show you the pressure on f7. So I can show you this variation. So bishop takes h5, rook takes f8 check, bishop takes f8, bishop takes e6, king g7, and then simply knight e4. And this is what is going to allow this pawn to promote, because now this is blocked. This diagonal, so the bishop, just can't, return. Okay, back to the game here. This is why after bishop b3, king h8 was played. And now just simply b7. Rook takes c4, bishop takes c4, queen d7. Rook takes f7. It looks like a king's gambit, right? Rook takes f7. Rook takes f7, queen takes f7, queen g4 check, king f2, queen to h4 check, king e2, bishop g4, king d3, e4 check, king c2, queen d8, gotta stop this guy, right? And now queen f4, threatening to promote, and threatening the bishop at the same time. And Vola was forced to resign. So you can see the double-edged nature of the modern Benoni, even in the modern approach by White. Again, this loss had nothing to do with the opening per se, but just we saw opportunities on both sides, both players making errors, and these are the type of positions that arise that will favor the more prepared player. You're gonna get murky positions, and the thing that you can guarantee with the Benoni is that uh, you definitely have chances. So that is it for the lesson on this part of the Benoni. And stay tuned. We have a long way to go, and we're gonna keep going through in our study of the modern Benoni. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you on the next video.